Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, for posting this important bill, A1. As the prime sponsor of Senate Bill number 1, which has been released from the Senate Judiciary Committee, I am pleased to have the honor of appearing before my colleagues in the Assembly. And one small footnote, when you outlined the rules, Chairman Barnes, you sound like, I know why this is called the House of the People. You're a little bit more democratic here than we were in our Senate Judiciary Committee, so I just thought I'd make note of that. I know that these two bills have number 1, A1 and S1. I want to assure the members of this committee, I'm sure I don't have to assure the members of this committee, but certainly the audience and the residents in the state of New Jersey, that we are all determined to make sure that it is very important to have equal justice under all our laws. And at the same time, we have the ability to deal with jobs, the economy, and all the other things that are affecting the residents of New Jersey. Now, I know that we heard a lot about constitutional issues. I'd like to talk a little bit more personally. I was married for almost 40 years, and the reason that our union was called a marriage is because I was married to a man. I was married in the state of New York, and when we moved to New Jersey, I didn't have to talk about some other name for our union. I didn't have to file a different set of papers to be recognized as a family unit with all the rights of civil law in the state of New Jersey. When my husband became ill and we had to face end-of-life decisions, nobody questioned my right to participate in the most important of life's decisions, end of life. So I was able to do that as a full partner without a word of explanation to anybody outside our family unit. And then I moved forward a little bit. I think it was Assemblyman Gusiora who referred to the fact that our Constitution in the law against discrimination specifically mentions sexual orientation. I'm proud to say that came from one of my predecessors, a Bergen County Assemblyman, the late D. Bennett Mazer. That was one of the last bills that he was able to get passed in the state legislature. And then we moved forward to domestic partnership, a very small step. And I can tell you that 8 years ago, this past September, as the prime sponsor of the domestic partnership bill, I was in my office with the entire, not the entire, but the representatives of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, and I say whatever community, at the moment of my granddaughter's birth, when I received the call from the delivery room and heard the baby cry for the first time. I was working on just a very small step for equal rights in the state of New Jersey. Well, my granddaughter's now 8 years old, and in overhearing some of the conversation about this, said to me, you should be able to marry anybody you love and feel comfortable with. I've written the story for her of what I was doing at the moment of her birth, knowing that by the time she's a teenager, she's going to think all of this was pretty silly. Then we moved to the Civil Union Bill. And I want to quote from one of our Supreme Court justices, Deborah Ports, a Republican appointee, who said, words do matter. That's the quote from Supreme Court Justice Deborah Ports in her ruling on this particular case. And yes, words do matter. And yes, civil union is a separate but equal class. And that's what we have to address today. This is about civil law, not about religious law. And each of the prior speakers have said it, and I think it's worth repeating again and again. No member of any religious clergy needs to participate, nor will be compelled. No religious institution or group will have to rent out its facilities for the observance or the celebration of a same-sex marriage. You know what? In today's day and age, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you all know, there are many religions that do not recognize divorce. They will not marry a member of somebody who has been divorced. But the state of New Jersey, indeed throughout the states, we recognize divorce in a civil way. That's what this bill is about. It is about equal justice for all the people we represent. And to keep it a little more personal, I said this in my remarks at the Senate, and I'm going to repeat it again. This is about Daniel and Stephen. It is about Reed. It's about Tim and Kevin. One of your colleagues in the Assembly. You've got two colleagues in the Assembly who might like to get married. I can't speak for Reed, but I can certainly speak for Tim Eustace. I don't know, I'll have to find out afterwards, but Tim happens to be a friend, a former constituent, a parent, and has been in a relationship that is probably going on to almost longer than I was privileged to be married, and is a father. And how you can look at your colleague in the face and say that you are not going to vote for this is something that I will have trouble understanding. So we know that we don't put civil rights on referendum. The last time that a referendum about civil rights was done in 1915, and it was about women's suffrage and women's right to vote. And by the way, it was defeated in New Jersey, and it took the legislature to give women the right to vote sometime later. So please, you can have philosophic and religious differences with this. You do not have to participate in it, but you have to think about your friends and neighbors, people who want a recognized family unit. And my last statement is, this is really family values. So when Tim Eustace comes with his son, please remember those family values. Thank you.